Hello viewers, hello VOD watchers. It's me, Salty. I'm back. I missed yesterday's stream, unfortunately, because I was under the weather after having had a booster shot. But I'm feeling a lot better today. No headache at the moment. A little bit achy, but other than that, all good. Which was a lot better than the other booster shots I had in the past. The first time I had a Moderna one, oh boy, that was a doozy. But anyway, yeah. So I hope everyone's doing okay. Hello, Asker. If nobody showed up, I was going to start off with doing the veggie quiz. Yeah, I don't think I've got anything else to relate. Although I am continually checking on the things that I ordered for B's birthday. They're just little things, but one of them in particular is extremely appropriate. And I'm just like, yes, this one's B. You can hear now. Oh, that's good. This mic arm was $15. That's okay, Asker. I was just saying that, hi, welcome. And if nobody was here, I was going to start off by doing the vegetable quiz. Which vegetable are you? And also talking about booster shot. And also getting B little things for birthday. And I'm excited because one of them is very appropriate. Do the quiz anyway. Could do the quiz. Let's risk it. Oh, okay. What vegetable are you? Boop. Hey, there we go. Well, I'll do the quiz really quickly and then I'll get into the story. I was watching another ASMR streamer who reads, and she was reading Dracula as well, and she's getting up to the bit that I'm doing. I'm just like, oh no, she's going to overtake me if I don't get my act into gear. Okay, so what vegetable are you? This was posted on Acid's Discord. Mine goes in the wrong direction of appropriate items. Well, I just mean appropriate. I just mean it fits B. Like it's appropriate for B. I don't mean it's... Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. You and your veggie friends want to hang out in Veggieville. What snacks are you bringing? Oh, goodness. Okay, beef sticks, granola, cucumbers and carrots, crackers and cheese. Let's watch me overthink all of these. I don't know. Should I bring beef sticks to a Veggieville hangout? Like, would the veggies eat beef? Or granola, which is sort of veggies. Cucumbers and carrots are definitely veggies. Crackers and cheese, there's a bit of both. But are they carnivores? Or, I mean, are they, what do you call it when you eat your own kind? Do vegetables eat other vegetables? Or would they eat, like, beef? I don't know. God, why are you asking me these things? Okay, I'm overthinking it. Cannibals, that's it. Yeah. Are vegetables cannibals? Should I bring the cucumbers and carrots and be like, here are your family? I think it's safest. I don't think the vegetables would like wheat. So I'm going to bring crackers and cheese. Plants eat everything. That is very true. Plants don't have morals. Only people have morals. Where are you guys going to go? Okay. Am I a vegetable in this scenario? Okay. A vegetable, Matt. Oh, where are we going to go? The beach, a cute bookstore, your friend's apartment, or Mount Evergedable? It's going to be 2 or 3. The bookstore or a friend's apartment. I feel like going out. Let's go to the bookstore. So many books to choose from. What catches your eye first? Good job we went to the bookstore. Oh no, the quiz changed because we went to the bookstore. That's very good. A whimsical, heartwarming slice of life novel. The Great Gordsby, classic literature. Sherlock Holmes, a thrilling mystery novel. Or a self-help book. I don't think B would forgive me for picking Sherlock Holmes. We're going to go try The Great Gordsby, seeing as we're reading classic literature at the moment. There are a couple of events going on today at the bookstore. Which do you go to? B's not here? Ah, good point. I buy lettuce when it's like super cheap, by the way. There are a couple of events going on today at the bookstore. Which do you go to? Join a book club discussion on the hottest new book. Book scavenger hunt around the store for a free prize. That sounds good. A creative writing workshop and storytelling event. 2, because I'm actually shit at making up stuff on the spot. As you leave the bookstore, an insurmountable gust of wind lifts you up. Everyone is buffeted in a vortex, up and up. I can read it on this screen. Goodbye, everyone. It was nice knowing you. Error 404, Veggie Brain is in a state of panic. Everyone try holding hands. Or wee. I'm going to assume that... let's go 3. Everyone try holding hands. The whirlwind stops. You feel a sharp, chilly breeze, because you're trapped in a human's fridge. Oh, we are vegetables then. You are here. Get out ASAP before you get eaten. Hide and wait for the refrigerator door to open. Rally the veggie friends to push the door. Roll out. Try to unplug the refrigerator from the inside. Do what the others do. I think we're going to have to rally everyone to get out. Miraculously, you made it out of the fridge. But now you need to get out of the house. What's next? Hop on the dog's back? I don't know. Some dogs like veggies. Stealth your way to the front door. Or jump out the nearby window. I'd say jump out the window. Shoot, the window is stuck and won't slide open. Damn. How about we go down the hall instead? No. Try using oil to loosen the locking mechanism. Chuck kitchen utensils to break window. I'm just going to make this window a bit bigger. There we go. Try using oil to loosen the locking mechanism or chuck kitchen utensils. Do we break the window? Hi Snaps, how you doing? I'm just doing a veggie thing before I start reading. I think we're going to try oil. I think. Use the tools of the oppressors. Yeah, they all sound bad. Sweet, the window slides open nicely. Yes. Jump out the window with no hesitation. See ya. Look for something to land on before jumping. Oh, I'm scared of heights. Look for something to land on. Stepping through the exit. Transport you to the corn cosmos. It's corn. And now you're in a corn rocket floating in space. What gadget are you going to tinker with to get back home? The lever that takes you into hyperspace, or whatever they call it in the movies, or methodically type random stuff in the holographic keyboard above you. Methodically. I don't know. What do you reckon? Corn Cosmos? Okay, we go to hyperspace. You think? Yeah, let's try it. Let's send it. Buckle up. Stars and green galaxies fly by as the corn rocket shoots off. Second one? Oh, whoops. See you, space vegetal. Wow, this is beautiful. Please take us back. Veggie fingers intensely crossed. I recognize that constellation. It's Orionian. Orionian? Yeah, why not? Where are we now? Ask one of your friends. What should you guys do next? Beep, boop, beep, beep, beep. Pull more levers, press more buttons. Look around for a map. Organize everyone and discuss team plan. I think we should look around for a map first. After reading the rocket manual, your team has an idea for what buttons to press. We should double check. Here goes nothing, as Link the Leak reaches for the lever. Ollie the Onion yells, "Wait, I don't feel good about this. I'm really scared." What do you do? It was me, I was the one that yelled. Re-explained the plan. See, nothing to be afraid of. Stand back and let someone else handle the situation. Go over and comfort them. I think 2's a pretty good idea. At last you pull the lever and blast off. The rocket halts, and the corn husk doors release. Sweet, free rocket. You're back in Veggieville. Time to hit up the Club Carrot. I need to let loose. Go to your favourite spot to unwind by yourself. Call all of Veggieville for a picnic and tell everyone what happened. Throw up from rocket sickness. I need some time by myself. After that ordeal. Last question. After a night of good rest, the next morning you, another day in Veggieville, go to a cafe and to finally read the book, head to work, get that bag, organise a community cleanup day, go on a veggie run. Gee, I wonder which one I'm going to pick. Hooray, I'm broccoli. Here's your veggie ID. Don't lose it. Right-click or hold the image to save. Strengths. Good leader. Comes up with the craziest, wackiest, yet best ideas. Weird bursts of courage. That's me, weird bursts of courage. Weakness. Too scared to ask their crush out and also delusional. Perfectionist tendencies. Chronic case of bedhead. Sometimes people just don't see my vision. Is everyone ready to go? Alignment. Lawful 40%, neutral 40%, chaotic 20%. Good 80%, neutral 15%, evil 5%. Damn, it's like they know me too well. Hidden talent. Finding good in everyone, including their ex. Just add me, Jesus. Peer reviews. Soft hands, garlic. Carried my team project, potato. Yep. I want to make a starter with broccoli, but they're already working on one with garlic, bok choy. That's good. I like that one. How do we do that? Copy. Alright. Just going to paste it in as his Discord. That was fun. It's in Acid's Discord if you want. Also, I will post the link Where's the link? Copy message link. No, that's not it. That's the Discord link. Copy, paste. There we go. There's the quiz. The quiz. I don't think it's so much a quiz as is like a choose your own adventure story. That is some strong ass tea. Cheers, chat. Oh. Okay, that is brutally strong. Use of the word quiz is very loose, yes. Okay, the other thing, chat, before we begin, strong tea is, well, if you like strong tea, that is very strong. Yes. Last week, because I had my Kindle is from 2014. It was my mum's, but I hacked it because the old Kindles you can't change the picture, but I hacked it so that you can change the picture, and I made up a little picture. So yeah. Also, I made another one. Let me just bring that up. Yeah. There's the other one. It's like a castle. I put my little logo on it. So yeah. The first time I tried hacking it, I failed, but I don't think I didn't quite grasp it. Either that or I didn't download the right files for it. But basically, the old Kindles have a little browser in them, like an experimental browser, and that is how you have to hack it. Like you type a command in the browser and it executes the file that you uploaded, and then boom, you can use the hack to change things and upload images that you make. Anyway, so last week we had a little excerpt from the local paper where the journalist was writing about the wolves escaping from the zoo, and basically the wolves went nuts and kind of broke out of the zoo. But before that, a strange gentleman visited the zookeeper and riled up the wolves, and obviously the gentleman was implied to be Dracula. And before that, Van Helsing and Dr. Seward were trying to figure out what was wrong with Lucy Westenra, who was losing a lot of blood mysteriously. They noticed 2 little puncture marks in the neck that weren't healing. Very small, but there. And they couldn't figure out what they were. Dr. Seward surmised that maybe she was losing blood through there, but there's no blood anywhere. How could this be? And hello, Londres 2002. Welcome in. Basically, Van Helsing came up with a cure that he told Lucy's mother. It was basically garlic flowers that he hung all around, and then the next day he went to Lucy's house, and Lucy's mother had taken down all the garlic flowers because she said it was suffocating Lucy. And even I wanted to strangle the old lady at that point. Because it's like, come on, we the reader know what's happening. And at this point, because he's hanging up garlic, Van Helsing has a suspicion as what's happening. Dr. Seward doesn't know what's going on. fat old lady who is apparently her heart is very dicky, so they couldn't even tell her off because they might end her. That's how frail she was supposed to be. But she had enough energy to go and take down all the garlic. Anyway. Frustrating. But I suppose that's part of what makes a story good. So I was in the other stream who was also reading Dracula, and someone in the chat said that Bram Stoker was very keen on picking up various ideas, but the details got lost. And one of the details is that they were doing blood transfusion to Lucy from themselves. Thank you, Snaps. I got them from a website called Firmu. Oh, look. Thank you. I'm going for the NB sort of look. I also have another pair. Gypsy Demure Chic. Or Chic, either one. It's either Gypsy or Pirate, either way. These are my other glasses that I got. I fell in love with them basically because of the colours. Gee, I wonder why. So yeah, but they're very slightly different, even though the prescription is the same, because their glasses are different shapes. They're different. The colours, yeah. So they're from Firmu. So FIRMOO. Firmu has an Australian website, which I got confused with at first because I was trying to order from the .com, not .au, and for some reason it wasn't letting me order, and I'm just like, Didn't send me to the Australian site. Nope, just said can't order this. Anyway, so yeah, if you get your prescription, I recommend getting your glasses online. There are plenty of other websites as well. Just that one was the well, actually, I used it because the colour. Let's be honest, it's the trans flag colours. Right. So yes, they were doing blood transfusions to Lucy, and they didn't check her blood type. They just went, "No, we're doing this." They just slam that bad boy into her vein and just be like, "Here's some blood." Just like, whoa! You don't just give someone blood. And it's like, it wasn't even once. It was like 3 different times. 3 different guys gave Lucy blood. And yeah. I'm just like, what are the odds that they're all the same blood type? But anyway. Lucy is one of the characters in the book, and she is... Okay, so the book starts off with Jonathan Harker, who is a solicitor who goes to visit Dracula in his castle in Transylvania, because Dracula wants to purchase some property near London. Jonathan has a fiancée named Mina Harker back in England, and Mina Harker's best friend is Lucy Westenra. So basically, Lucy, fast forwarding, Jonathan discovers the supernatural abilities of Dracula. Silly question, is the movie Darkula? No, Dracula. Basically, the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula approximately follows the book. So, Jonathan Harker is Keanu Reeves. Dracula is Gary Oldman. Dracula, the parody one? No, none of this is a parody. I don't know any parody movies except for Dracula Dead and Loving It. From the 80s. There's a lot. There's a lot of Dracula movies. Is that the one that's got what's his face in it? Leslie Nielsen. Yeah, it was from the 90s. Okay, ask your question in full so I know what you're talking about. like write a paragraph for me. Because there's a bit of lag, and I'm not very good at this whole chatting thing. Leslie Nielsen, yeah. Dracula Dead and Loving It was the Leslie Nielsen Mel Brooks movie, which I haven't watched in many years. But from what I remember, it was pretty funny. This one where Van Helsing is deliberately making all the blood come out of a cadaver and trying to make all of his students faint. Is the book Dracula the same as the movie? Are the same characters in the book? Yes, I would say so. There are many Dracula movies. No worries, Askar. But the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula is essentially based on the book. But anyway, the book is set out as a collection of diary excerpts and newspaper articles, which is the only book I've read which has this kind of format. Like, each section is from a diary or a newspaper article or like some sort of broadcast. It might be broadcast. Yeah, or letter or whatever. But basically, Dracula is now in England. He has a property next to an insane asylum. And we haven't actually, since he left the castle, we haven't had any dialogue from Dracula at all. He's just been in the shadows, basically. So the other characters have been doing things and wondering what all these weird goings-on are about. Why is Lucy losing all this blood? Why does she keep getting up at night, sleepwalking? Well, it's because Dracula's taking her blood and he's hypnotizing her to come to the window. But you don't actually see that, which is part of the charm. But anyway, so we're up to Dr. Seward's diary, the 17th of September. So it's been April, May, June, July, August, September. It's been about 5 months since Jonathan Harker first visited Dracula in Transylvania. So Dracula moves pretty quick. 5 months is pretty quick for those days. So yes, also Dr. Seward is treating a patient called Renfield in his insane asylum. Dr. Seward's diary, 17th of September. I was engaged after dinner in my study posting up my books, which, through the press of other work, and the many visits to Lucy, had fallen sadly into arrear. Suddenly the door was burst open, and in rushed my patient, with his face distorted with passion. I was thunderstruck, for such a thing as a patient getting of his own accord into the superintendent's study is almost unknown. Without an instant's notice, he made straight at me. He had a dinner knife in his hand, and as I saw he was dangerous, I tried to keep the table between us. He was too quick and too strong for me, however, for before I could get my balance, he had struck at me and cut my left wrist rather severely. Before he could strike again, however, I got in my right hand, and he was sprawling on his back on the floor. My wrist bled freely, and quite a little pool trickled onto the carpet. I saw that my friend was not intent on further effort, and occupied myself binding up my wrist, keeping a wary eye on the prostrate figure all the time. When the attendants rushed in, and we turned our attention to him, his employment positively sickened me. He was lying on his belly, on the floor, licking up, like a dog, the blood which had fallen from my wounded wrist. He was easily secured, and, to my surprise, went with the attendants quite placidly, simply repeating, over and over again, "The blood is the life. The blood is the life." I cannot afford to lose blood just at the present. I've lost too much of late for my physical good, and then the prolonged strain of Lucy's illness. Lovely. The prolonged strain of Lucy's illness and its horrible phases, is telling on me. I am overexcited and weary, and I need rest. Happily, Van Helsing has not summoned me, so I need not forgo my sleep. Tonight, I could not do well without it. Now, telegram Van Helsing, Antwerp, to Seward, Carfax. See, we went from a diary entry, now we've gone to a telegram. I have to admit, I didn't get on the first time I tried to read this book. I was a lot younger, and I didn't get on with the whole diary.
Take a fucking sip, babes.
Annie, hello. I didn't get on with the whole diary sort of format, but it's not too bad now. I don't know, maturity, blah, 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 something. So anyway. Lovely's in the chat. So yes, telegram. Sent to Carfax, Sussex, as no country given. Delivered late by 22 hours. Oh, okay. This is it. Okay. 17 September. Do not fail to be at Hillingham tonight. Stop. If not watching all the time, frequently visit and see that flowers are as placed. Very important. Do not fail. Stop. Shall be with you as soon as possible after arrival. Stop. So that was Van Helsing telling Dr. Seward to put the garlic flowers back around Lucy's bed. Dr. Seward's diary, 18th of September. Just off train to London. The arrival of Van Helsing's telegram filled me with dismay. A whole night lost, and I know by bitter experience what may happen in a night. Ah, the telegram was 22 hours late. Uh-oh. Of course it is possible that all may be well, but what may have happened? Surely there is some horrible doom hanging over us, that every possible accident should thwart us in all we try to do. I shall take this cylinder with me, and then I can complete my entry on Lucy's phonograph. It's just kind of escaped me what a phonograph is. Is that like a recording device? An old-timey recording device that records on records, maybe? Not sure. Anyway, memorandum left by Lucy Westenra. Oh, Lucy had a little right. 17th of September, night. I write this and leave it to be seen, so that no one may by any chance get into trouble through me. This is an exact record of what took place tonight. I feel I am dying of weakness, and have barely strength to write, but it must be done if I die in the doing. I went to bed as usual, taking care that the flowers were placed as Dr. Van Helsing directed, and soon fell asleep. I was waked by a flapping at the window, which had begun after that sleepwalking on the cliff at Whitby, when Mina saved me, and which now I know so well. I was not afraid, but I did wish that Dr. Seward was in the next room, as Dr. Van Helsing said he would be, so that I might have called him. I tried to sleep, but I could not. B, love you. Then there came to me the old fear of sleep, and I determined to keep awake. Perversely, sleep would try to come, then when I did not want it. So as I feared to be alone, I opened my door and called out, "Is there anybody there?" There was no answer. I was afraid to wake Mother, and so closed my door again. Then outside, in the shrubbery, I heard a sort of howl like a dog's, but more fierce and deeper. I went to the window and looked out, but could see nothing except a big bat, which had evidently been buffeting its wings against the window. So I went back to bed again, but determined not to go to sleep. Presently the door opened, and Mother looked in. Seeing by my moving that I was not asleep, she came in and sat by me. She said to me even more sweetly and softly than her wont, "I was uneasy about you, darling, and came in to see that you were all right." I feared she might catch cold sitting there, and asked her to come in and sleep with me, so she came into my bed and lay down beside me. She did not take off her dressing gown, for she said she would only stay a while and then go back to her own bed. As she lay there in my arms, and I in hers, the flapping and buffeting came to the window again. She was startled and a little frightened, and cried out, "What is that?" I tried to pacify her, and at last succeeded, and she lay quiet. But I could hear her poor dear heart still beating terribly. After a while there was the howl again, out in the shrubbery, and shortly after there was a crash at the window, and a lot of broken glass was hurled on the floor. The window blind blew back with the wind that rushed in, and in the aperture of the broken panes there was the head of a great, gaunt grey wolf. Mother cried out in fright, and struggled up into a sitting posture and clutched wildly at anything that would help her. Amongst other things, she clutched the wreath of flowers that Dr. Van Helsing insisted on wearing round my neck, and it tore away from me. Oh, Mother. For a second or two she sat up, pointing at the wolf, and there was a strange and horrible gurgling in her throat. Then she fell over, as if struck by lightning, and her head hit my forehead and made me dizzy for a moment or two. The room and all around seemed to spin round. I kept my eyes fixed on the window, but the wolf drew his head back, and a whole myriad of little specks seemed to come blowing in through the broken window, and wheeling and circling round like the pillar of dust that travellers describe when there is a simoon in the desert. Simoon. I've never heard that word before. Wonder if the dictionary's still working. Oop, wrong one. That one. Nope, it's broken. I tried to stir, but there was some spell upon me, and dear mother's poor body, which seemed to grow cold already, for her dear heart had ceased to beat, weighed me down, and I remembered no more for a while. The time did not seem long, but very, very awful, till I recovered consciousness again. Somewhere near, a passing bell was tolling. The dogs all round the neighbourhood were howling, and in our shrubbery, seemingly just outside, a nightingale was singing. I was dazed and stupid with pain and terror and weakness, but the sound of the nightingale seemed like the voice of my dead mother come back to comfort me. The sounds seemed to have awakened the maids, too, for I could hear their bare feet pattering outside my door. I called to them, and they came in, and when they saw what had happened, and what it was that lay over me on the bed, they screamed out. The wind rushed in through the broken window, and the door slammed to. They lifted off the body of my dear mother, and laid her, covered up with a sheet, on the bed after I had got up. They were all so frightened and nervous that I directed them to go to the dining room and each have a glass of wine. The door flew open for an instant and closed again. The maids shrieked and then went in a body to the dining room, and I laid what flowers I had on my dear mother's breast. When they were there, I remembered what Dr. Van Helsing had told me, but I didn't like to remove them, and besides, I would have some of the servants to sit up with me now. I was surprised that the maids did not come back. I called them, but got no answer, so I went to the dining room to look for them. My heart sank when I saw what had happened. They, all four, lay helpless on the floor, breathing heavily. The decanter of sherry was on the table half full, but there was a queer, acrid smell about it. I was suspicious and examined the decanter. It smelt of laudanum, and looking on the sideboard, I found that the bottle which Mother's doctor uses for her, did use, was empty. What am I to do? What am I to do? I am back in the room with Mother. I cannot leave her, and I am alone, save for the sleeping servants, whom someone has drugged. alone with the dead. I dared not go out, for I can hear the low howl of the wolf through the broken window. The air seems full of specks, floating and circling in the draught from the window, and the lights burn blue and dim. What am I to do? God shield me from harm this night. I shall hide this paper in my breast, where they shall find it when they come to lay me out. My dear mother gone. It is time that I go, too. Goodbye, dear Arthur, if I should not survive this night. God keep you, dear, and God help me. End of chapter 11. Poor Lucy, she can't get a break. So that was a piece of paper that Lucy wrote on, that she kept in her bra or whatever she had on. Chapter 12. It's alright, still got aches and pains. PRB, no worries, Snaps. Right, so chapter 12, Dr. Seward's diary. Right, so Dr. Seward had just received a late telegram. So, 18th of September, the following day. I drove at once to Hillingham and arrived early. Keeping my cab at the gate, I went up the avenue alone. I knocked gently and rang as quietly as possible, for I feared to disturb Lucy or her mother, and hoped only to bring a servant to the door. After a while, finding no response, I knocked and rang again. Still no answer. I cursed the laziness of the servants, that they should lie abed at such an hour, for it was now 10 o'clock, and so rang and knocked again, but more impatiently, but still without response. Hitherto I had blamed only the servants, but now a terrible fear began to assail me. I have got to use the word hitherto in normal conversation sometime. Was this desolation but another link in the chain of doom which seemed drawing tight round us? Was it indeed a house of death to which I had come too late? I know that minutes, even seconds of delay might mean hours of danger to Lucy, if she had had again one of those frightful relapses, and I went round the house to try if I could find by chance an entry anywhere. I could find no means of ingress. Every window and door was fastened and locked, and I returned baffled to the porch. As I did so, I heard a rapid pit-pat of a swiftly driven horse's feet. They stopped at the gate, and a few seconds later I met Van Helsing running up the avenue. When he saw me, he gasped out loud. I apologize for the accent, chat, but I only know, I don't know Dutch. Then it was you, and just arrived. How is she? Are we too late? Did you not get my telegram? I answered quickly and coherently as I could that I had only got his telegram early in the morning, and had not a minute in coming here, and that I could not make anyone in the house hear me. He paused and raised his hat as he said, solemnly. "Then I fear we are too late. God's will be done." With his usual recuperative energy, he went on. "Come, if there be no way to get in, we must make one. Time is all in all to us now." We went round the back of the house, where there was a kitchen window. The professor took a small surgical saw from his case, and handing it to me, pointed to the iron bars which guarded the window. I attacked them at once, and had very soon cut through 3 of them. I would just like to point out that obviously the author has never tried to cut iron bars with a surgical saw before. Like a manual saw. Come on. These must be the shittest iron bars. Anyway. I attacked them at once, and had very soon cut through 3 of them. Then with a long, thin knife we pushed back the fastening of the sashes and opened the window. I helped the professor in and followed him. There was no one in the kitchen or in the servants' rooms, which were close at hand. We tried all the rooms as we went along, and in the dining room, dimly lit by rays of light through the shutters, found 4 servant women lying on the floor. There was no need to think them dead, for their stertorous breathing, and the acrid smell of the laudanum in the room left no doubt as to their condition. By the way, chat, laudanum is a old-timey, it's basically an opiate. It's like a mix of several different opiates. And probably heroin. Probably. I can't quite remember exactly what's in it, but it's like just awful shit. Anyway. Van Helsing and I looked at each other, and as we moved away, he said, "We can attend to them later." Then we ascended to Lucy's room. For an instant or 2 we paused at the door to listen, but there was no sound that we could hear. With white faces and trembling hands, we opened the door gently and entered the room. How shall I describe what we saw? On the bed lay 2 women, Lucy and her mother. The latter lay farthest in, and she was covered with a white sheet, the edge of which had been blown back by the draught through the broken window, showing the drawn white face, with a look of terror fixed upon it. By her side lay Lucy, with face white and still more drawn. The flowers which had been round her neck we found upon her mother's bosom, and her throat was bare, showing the 2 little wounds which we had noticed before, but looking horribly white and mangled. Without a word, the professor bent over the bed, his head almost touching poor Lucy's breast. Then he gave a quick turn of his head, as of one who listens, and leaping to his feet, he cried out to me, "It is not yet too late. Quick, quick, bring the brandy." I flew downstairs and returned with it, taking care to smell and taste it, lest it, too, were drugged like the decanter of sherry which I found on the table. The maids were still breathing, but more restlessly, and I fancied that the narcotic was wearing off. I did not stay to make sure, but returned to Van Helsing. He rubbed the brandy, as on another occasion, on her lips and gums, and on her wrists and the palms of her hands. He said to me, I can do this, all that can be at the present. You go wake those maids. Flick them in the face with a wet towel, and flick them hard. Make them get heat and fire, and a warm bath. This poor soul is nearly as cold as that beside her. She will need to be heated before we can do anything more. I went at once, and found little difficulty in waking 3 of the women. The 4th was only a young girl, and the drug had evidently affected her more strongly, so I lifted her on the sofa and let her sleep. The others were dazed at first, but as remembrance came back to them, they cried and sobbed in a hysterical manner. I was stern with them, however, and would not let them talk. Wait, what? And would not let them talk. Okay, it's odd. I told them that one life was bad enough to lose, and if they delayed, they would sacrifice Miss Lucy. So, sobbing and crying, they went about their way, half-clad as they were, and prepared fire and water. Fortunately, the kitchen and boiler fires were still alive, and there was no lack of hot water. We got a bath and carried Lucy out, as she was, and placed her in it. Whilst we were busy, chafing her limbs, there was a knock at the hall door. One of the maids ran off, hurried on some more clothes, and opened it. Then she returned and whispered to us that there was a gentleman who had come with a message from Mr. Holmwood. I bade her simply tell him that he must wait, for we could see no one now. She went away with the message, and, engrossed with our work, I clean forgot all about him. I never saw, in all my experience, the Professor work in such deadly earnest. I knew, as he knew, that it was a stand-up fight with death, and in a pause told him so. He answered me in a way that I did not understand, but with the sternest look that his face could wear. If that were all, I would stop here where we are now, and let her fade away into peace, for I see no light in life over her horizon. He went on with his work with, if possible, renewed and more frenzied vigour. Presently we both began to be conscious that the heat was beginning to be of some effect. Lucy's heart beat a trifle more audibly to the stethoscope, and her lungs had a perceptible movement. Van Helsing's face almost beamed, and as we lifted her from the bath and rolled her in a hot sheet to dry her, he said to me, "The first gain is ours. Check to the king." We took Lucy into another room, which had by now been prepared, and laid her in bed and forced a few drops of brandy down her throat. Old-timey recipes, medicines, just alcohol. I noticed that Van Helsing tied a soft silk handkerchief round her throat. She was still unconscious, and was quite as bad as us, if not worse than we had ever seen her. If not worse than we had ever seen her. Van Helsing called in one of the women, and told her to stay with her, and not to take her eyes off her till we returned, and then beckoned me out of the room. "We must consult as to what is to be done," he said, as we descended the stairs. In the hall he opened the dining-room door, and we passed in, he closing the door carefully behind him. The shutters had been opened, but the blinds were already down, with that obedience to the etiquette of death which the British woman of the lower classes always rigidly observes. The room was, therefore, dimly dark. It was, however, light enough for our purposes. Van Helsing's sternness was somewhat relieved by the look of perplexity. He was evidently torturing his mind about something, so I waited for an instant, and he spoke. "What are we to do now? Where are we to turn for help? We must have another transfusion of blood, and that soon, or that poor girl's life won't be worth an hour's purchase. You are exhausted already. I am exhausted too. I fear to trust those women, even if they would have the courage to submit. What are we to do for someone who will open his veins for her?" What, they're not even going to ask the maids? What's the matter with me, anyhow? Oh, wait a minute. Oh. The voice came from the sofa across the room, and its tones brought relief and joy to my heart, for they were those of Quincy Morris, the American. Van Helsing started angrily at the first sound, but his face softened, and a glad look came into his eyes as I cried out, "Quincy Morris!" and rushed towards him with outstretched hands. "What brought you here?" I cried as our hands met. "I guess art is the cause." He handed me a telegram. "Have not heard from Seward for 3 days, and am terribly anxious. Stop. Cannot leave. Stop. Father still in same condition. Stop. Send me word how Lucy is. Stop. Do not delay. Stop. Dash homeward." Mireya! Boy, welcome in, friends. Welcome in, Mireya. How was your stream, lovely? I popped in earlier to see what you're up to. I liked your makeup. It was Halloween makeup. Come to continue with the nap? Okay, very good. I'm just trying to do an American accent. It's not working out very well. I just had a booster shot the other day, so I'm kind of getting over that. Welcome back, Snaps. So yes, welcome in, everyone. My name is Salty. I read stories, and I'm currently reading Dracula by Bram Stoker, which is a very old-timey book. Still filling the booster? Yeah, I for some reason the boosters knocked me around a bit. Booster for like COVID shot, booster. I thought I better get one. Excellent book. I'm enjoying it. Like the first time I tried to read it when I was younger, I didn't get on with it, but now I'm actually quite enjoying it. And also I'm very much enjoying doing Van Helsing's accent, even though I can't do a Dutch accent. I'm just doing like a generic sort of German accent. Yeah. So yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it is funny. I like it, but yeah, I very much beg forgiveness from everyone for my American accent. It's it's like generic American, and not very good. Okay, so yes, Dr. Van Helsing, Dr. Seward, and now Quincy Morris, who was one of Lucy's suitors earlier in the book, are in Lucy's house, And they're trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with Lucy. She keeps losing blood. They can't figure it out. I had a similar experience with either the initial vaccine or one of the boosters. Yeah. I was fine with the very first one. But yeah, the freaking, what was the worst one? I think it was Moderna. Yeah, it was the Moderna one. that had me on my back. Anyway. Have a good lurk, Maria. Have a good lurk, everyone. I will try not to make too many loud sounds or anything. So I'll try to speak softly. Also, if you like Dracula, another one of the ASMR streamers who streams during 12 hours earlier than this, she is reading Dracula. I'll give her a quick shout out. Oh my god, I've forgotten her name. Okay, we're going to give a shout out to Falcor the Book Dragon. Falcor reads
Glory to you and your house.
Glory to you, Falcor. Falcor reads in the opposite time zone to me, so if you want to go back in the book a bit, Falcor's reading from a bit earlier in the book. But yeah, good stuff. So yes, they're trying to figure out why Lucy is losing blood, and she's on death's door. But Van Helsing has an idea of what is the cause, but he hasn't shared it yet, which is a little bit frustrating, because why wouldn't you just come out and say it? So, the telegram said to Quincy Morris to go visit Lucy. So, I think I came just in the nick of time. You know, you have only to tell me what to do. Van Helsing strode forward and took his hand, looking him straight in the eyes as he said, "A brave man's blood is the best thing on this earth when a woman is in trouble. You're a man, and no mistake. Well, the devil may work against us for all he's worth, but God sends us men when we want them." Hear that, chat? God sends us men when we want them. Once again we went through that ghastly operation. I have not the heart to go through with the details. Basically, they're doing a blood transfusion, straight up, without even checking the blood type. So this is the fourth person that has given Lucy blood. Straight up, straight from vein to vein. This book was written in 1897, by the way. Lucy had got a terrible shock, and it told on her more than before, for though plenty of blood went into her veins, her body did not respond to the treatment as well as on the other occasions. Her struggle back into life was something frightful to see and hear. However, the action of both heart and lungs improved, and Van Helsing made a subcutaneous injection of morphia as before, and with good effect. Her faint became a profound slumber. The professor watched whilst I went downstairs with Quincy Morris, and sent one of the maids to pay off one of the cabmen who were waiting. I left Quincy lying down after having a glass of wine, and told the cook to get ready a good breakfast. Then a thought struck me, and I went back to the room where Lucy now was. When I came softly in, I found Van Helsing with a sheet or two of notepaper in his hand. He had evidently read it, and was thinking it over as he sat with his hand to his brow. There was a look of grim satisfaction in his face, as of one who has had a doubt solved. He handed me the paper, saying only, "It was dropped from Lucy's breast when we carried her to the bath." When I had read it, I stood, looking at the professor, and after a pause asked him, "In God's name, what does it all mean? Was she, or is she mad, or what sort of horrible danger is it?" I was so bewildered that I did not know what to say more. "Hi, Lady DC, how you doing?" How good luck. Van Helsing put out his hand and took the paper, saying, "Do not trouble about it now. Forget it for the present. You shall know and understand it all in good time, but it will be later. And now, what is it that you came to say to me?" This brought me back to fact, and I was all myself again. "I came to speak about the certificate of death. If we do not act properly and wisely, there may be an inquest, and the paper would have to be produced. I am in hopes that we need have no inquest, for if we had it, it would surely kill poor Lucy, if nothing else did. I know, and you know, and the other doctor who attended her knows, that Mrs. Westenra had a disease of the heart, and we can certify that she died of it, which she did. Let us fill up the certificate at once, and I shall take it myself to the registrar, and go on to the undertaker." "Good! Oh, my friend John, well thought of. Truly, Miss Lucy, if she be sad in the foes that beset her, at least happy in the friends that love her. 1, 2, 3, all open their veins for her, besides one old man. Ah, yes, I know, friend John. I am not blind. I love you all the more for it. Now, go." Oh, that's interesting, yeah. He's right. The three blokes who were courting Lucy, like trying to get her hand in marriage, are the three guys who gave her blood. That's interesting. Plus Dr. Van Helsing. Or Professor Van Helsing, rather. In the hall I met Quincy Morris, with a telegram for Arthur, telling him that Mrs. Westenra was dead, that Lucy also had been ill, but was now going on better, and that Van Helsing and I were with her. I told him where I was going, and he hurried me out, but as I was going said, "When you come back, Jack, may I have 2 words with you, all to ourselves?" Oh, that was awful. I nodded in reply and went out. I found no difficulty about the registration, and arranged with the local undertaker to come up in the evening to measure for the coffin and to make arrangements. When I got back, Quincy was waiting for me. I told him I would see him as soon as I knew about Lucy, and went up to her room. She was still sleeping, and the professor, seemingly, had not moved from his seat at her side. From his putting his finger to his lips, I gathered that he expected her to wake before long, and was afraid of forestalling nature. So I went down to Quincy and took him into the breakfast room, where the blinds were not drawn down, and which was a little more cheerful, or rather less cheerless than the other rooms. When we were alone, he said to me, "Jack Seward, I don't want to shove myself in anywhere where I've no right to be, but this is no ordinary case. You know I love that girl and wanted to marry her, but although that's all past and gone, I can't help feeling anxious about her all the same. What is it that's wrong with her? The Dutchman, the fine old fellow he is, I can see that, said that. Oh, and a fine old fellow he is, I can see that. Said that time you two came into the room that you must have another transfusion of blood, and that both you and he were exhausted. Now I know well that you medical men speak in camera, and that a man must not expect to know what they consult about in private. This is no common matter, and whatever it is, I've done my part. Is that not so?" "That is so," I said, and he went on. "I take it that both you and Van Helsing had done already what I did today. Is that not so?" "That's so." "And I guess Art was in it too. When I saw him 4 days ago down at his own place, he looked queer. I've not seen anything pulled down so quick since I was on the pampas. I had a mare that I was fond of go to grass all in a night. One of those big bats that they call vampires had got at her in the night, and what with his gorge and the vein left open, there wasn't enough blood in her to let her stand up, and I had to put a bullet through her as she lay. Jack, if you may tell me, not betraying confidence, Arthur was the first, is that not so?" He said the word. As he spoke, the poor fellow looked terribly anxious. He was in a torture of suspense regarding the woman he loved, and his utter ignorance of the terrible mystery which seemed to surround her intensified his pain. For a guy that's ignorant, he really hit the nail on the head there, didn't he? His very heart was bleeding, and it took all the manhood of him, and there was a royal lot of it too, to keep him from breaking down. I paused before answering, for I felt that I must not betray anything which the professor wished kept secret. But already he knew so much, and guessed so much, that there could be no reason for not answering. So I answered in the same phrase. "That's so." "And how long has this been going on?" "About 10 days. 10 days? Well, then I guess, Jack Seward, that poor pretty creature that we all love has had put into her veins within that time the blood of 4 strong men. Man alive, her whole body wouldn't hold it." Then, coming close to me, he spoke in a fierce half-whisper. "What took it out?" I shook my head. "That," I said, "is the crux. Van Helsing is simply frantic about it, and I'm at my wit's end. I can't even hazard a guess. There's been a series of little circumstances which have thrown out all our calculations as to Lucy being properly watched. But these shall not occur again. Here we stay until all be well or ill." Quincy held out his hand. "Count me in," he said. "You and the Dutchman will tell me what to do, and I'll do it." When she woke late in the afternoon, Lucy's first movement was to feel in her breast, and to my surprise produced the paper which Van Helsing had given me to read. The careful professor had replaced it where it had come from, lest, on waking, she should be alarmed. Her eyes then lit on Van Helsing, and on me too, and gladdened. Then she looked around the room, and, seeing where she was, shuddered. She gave a loud cry, and put her poor, thin hands before her pale face. We both understood what was meant, that she had realized, to the full, her mother's death. So we tried what we could to comfort her. Doubtless sympathy eased her somewhat, but she was very low in thought and spirit, and wept silently and weakly for a long time. We told her that either or both of us would now remain with her all the time, and that seemed to comfort her. Towards dusk she fell into a doze. Here a very odd thing occurred. Whilst still asleep, she took the paper from her breast and tore it in two. Van Helsing stepped over and took the pieces from her. All the same, however, she went on with the action of tearing, as though the material was still in her hands. Finally, she lifted her hands and opened them as though scattering the fragments. Van Helsing seemed surprised, and his brows gathered as if in thought, but he said nothing. 19th of September, following day. All last night she slept fitfully, being always afraid to sleep, and something weaker when she woke from it. The professor and I took in turns to watch, and we never left her for a moment unattended. Quincy Morris said nothing about his intention, but I knew that all night long he patrolled round and round the house. When the day came, its searching light showed the ravages in poor Lucy's strength. She was hardly able to turn her head, and the little nourishment which she could take seemed to do her no good. At times she slept, and both Van Helsing and I noticed the difference in her between sleeping and waking. Whilst asleep she looked stronger, although more haggard, and her breathing was softer. Her open mouth showed the pale gums drawn back from the teeth, which looked positively longer and sharper than usual. Uh-oh, chat. When she woke, the softness of her eyes evidently changed the expression, for she looked her own self, although a dying one. In the afternoon she asked for Arthur, and we telegraphed for him. Quincy went off to meet him at the station. When he arrived it was nearly 6 o'clock, and the sun was setting, full and warm, and the red light streamed in through the window, and gave more colour to the pale cheeks. When he saw her, Arthur was simply choking with emotion, and none of us could speak. In the hours that had passed, the fits of sleep, or the comatose condition that had passed for it, had grown more frequent, so that the pauses, when conversation was possible, were shortened. Arthur's presence, however, seemed to act as a stimulant. She rallied a little, and spoke to him more brightly than she had done since we arrived. He, too, pulled himself together, and spoke as cheerily as he could, so that the best was made of everything. It is now nearly 1 o'clock, and he and Van Helsing are sitting with her. I am to relieve them in a quarter of an hour, and I am entering this on Lucy's phonograph. Until 6 o'clock they are to try to rest. I fear that tomorrow will end our watching, for the shock has been too great. The poor child cannot rally. God help us all. Letter, Mina Harker to Lucy Westenra, in brackets, unopened by her, close brackets, 17th of September. So this was written by Mina Harker to Lucy yesterday. Mina started the book off as Mina Murray, but she got married to Jonathan somewhere in Eastern Europe. Yes, 17th of September. My dearest Lucy, it seems an age since I heard from you, or indeed since I wrote. You will pardon me, I know, for all my faults, when you have read all my budget of news. Well, I got my husband back all right. When we arrived at Exeter, they're back in England. When we arrived at Exeter, there was a carriage waiting for us, and in it, though he had an attack of gout, Mr. Hawkins. He took us to his house, where there were rooms for us, all nice and comfortable, and we dined together. After dinner, Mr. Hawkins said, My dears, I want to drink your health and prosperity, and may every blessing attend you both. I know you both from children, and have, with love and pride, seen you grow up. Now I want you to make your home here with me. I have left to me neither chick nor child. All are gone, and in my will I have left you everything. I cried, Lucy dear, as Jonathan and the old man clasped hands. Our evening was a very, very happy one. So here we are, installed in this beautiful old house, and from both my bedroom and the drawing-room I can see the great elms of the cathedral close, with their great black stems, standing out against the old yellow stone of the cathedral, and I can hear the rooks overhead cawing, and chattering and gossiping all day, after the manner of rooks and humans. I am busy, I need not tell you, arranging things and housekeeping. Jonathan and Mr. Hawkins are busy all day, for now that Jonathan is a partner, Mr. Hawkins wants to tell him all about the clients. How is your dear mother getting on? I wish I could run up to town for a day or two to see you, dear, but I dare not go yet. So with so much on my shoulders, and Jonathan wants looking after still. He is beginning to put some flesh on his bones again, but he was terribly weakened by the long illness. If you remember, chat, Jonathan doesn't actually remember much of what happened at Castle Dracula. So, everything he wrote in his diary, he gave his diary to Mina and said, basically, I don't want to remember, but if you ever need to, then, or if you want to, look in the diary and read it. And Mina said, Mina then took a ribbon and a wax seal and made a seal and said, I'll never look in here unless Anita rises. So basically they are currently oblivious to Dracula. Even now he sometimes starts out of his sleep in a sudden way, and awakes all trembling until I can coax him back to his usual placidity. However, thank God, these occasions grow less frequent as the days go on, and they will in time pass away altogether, I trust. And now I have told you my news, let me ask yours. When are you to be married, and where, and who is to perform the ceremony, and what are you to wear, and is it to be a public or private wedding? Tell me all about it, dear. Tell me all about everything, for there is nothing which interests you which will not be dear to me. Jonathan asks me to send his respectful duty, but I do not think that is good enough from the junior partner of the important firm Hawkins and Harker. And so, as you love me, and he loves me, and I love you with all the moods and tenses of the verb, I send you simply his love instead. Goodbye, my dearest Lucy, and blessings on you. Yours, Mina Harker. Right. Now we have a report. Report from Patrick Hennessy, MD, MRCL, CSLK, QCPI, etc., to John Seward, MD. 20th of September. So this is 3 days later. My dear Sir, in accordance with your wishes, I enclose report of the conditions of everything left in my charge. With regard to the patient Renfield, there is more to say. He has had another outbreak, which might have had a dreadful ending, but which, as it fortunately happened, was unattended with any unhappy results. This afternoon a carrier's cart with 2 men made a call at the empty house whose grounds about on ours. The house to which, you will remember, the patient twice ran away. The men stopped at our gate to ask the porter their way, as they were strangers. If you remember, chat, the house he's talking about, which is next to the insane asylum, is the house that Dracula bought. The house that the sale of which is what kicked off this whole thing when Jonathan visited Dracula at Castle Dracula. So this is the house that he bought, next to the insane asylum. And this report is from the doctor at the insane asylum, who's covering Dr. Seward while he's away tending to Lucy. I was myself looking out of the study window, having a smoke after dinner, and saw one of them come up to the house. Oops, pardon me. As he passed the window of Renfield's room, the patient began to rate him from within, and called him all the foul names he could lay his tongue to. The man, who seemed a decent fellow enough, contented himself by telling him to shut up for a foul-mouthed beggar, whereon our man accused him of robbing him and wanting to murder him, and said that he would hinder him if he were to swing for it. I opened the window and signed to the man not to notice, so he contented himself after looking the place over and making up his mind as to what kind of place he had got to be, as he had got to by saying, "Lor bless you, sir, I wouldn't mind what was said to me in a bloomin' madhouse. I pity you, and the governor for having to live in the house with a wild beast like that." Then he asked his way civilly enough, and I told him where the gate of the empty house was. He went away, followed by threats and curses and revilings from our man. I went down to see if I could make out any cause for his anger, since he is usually such a well-behaved man, and except for his violent fits, nothing of the kind had ever occurred. A well-behaved man except for his violent fits. I found him, to my astonishment, quite composed and most genial in his manner. I tried to get him to talk of the incident, but he blandly asked me questions as to what I meant, and led me to believe that he was completely oblivious of the affair. It was, I am sorry to say, however, only another instance of his cunning, for within half an hour I heard of him again. Twitchy eye. I might swap glasses. I hope you don't mind chat, but I'm going to swap glasses. I know how much you like the gold ones, but I think this might give my eye something different to do. Because these are reading glasses, ones I've got on now. They're meant to 30 centimeters, roughly. And these are computer glasses, which are 60 to 90 centimeters, something like that. I do love the gold glasses, though. When I was picking out the glasses, I went into a whole, what do you call it? Rabbit hole. A whole rabbit hole of how different glasses make you appear. Okay. This time he had broken out through the window of his room and was running down the avenue. I called to the attendants to follow me and ran after him, for I feared he was intent on some mischief. My fear was justified when I saw the same cart which had passed before coming down the road, having on it some great wooden boxes. The men were wiping their foreheads and were flushed in the face, as if with violent exercise. Before I could get up to him, the patient rushed at them, and pulling one of them off the cart, began to knock his head against the ground. If I had not seized him just at that moment, I believe he would have killed the man there and then. The other fellow jumped down and struck him over the head with the butt end of his heavy whip. It was a horrible blow, but he did not seem to mind it, but seized him also, and struggled with the three of us, pulling us to and fro as if we were kittens. You know I am no lightweight, and the others were both burly men. At first he was silent in his fighting, but as we began to master him, and the attendants were putting our straight waistcoat on him, he began to shout, "I'll frustrate them. They shan't rob me. They shan't murder me by inches. I'll fight for my lord and master." And all sorts of similar, incoherent ravings. It was with very considerable difficulty that they got him back to the house and put him in the padded room. One of the attendants, Hardy, had a finger broken. However, I set it all right, and he is going on well. The two carriers were at first loud in their threats of actions for damages, and promised to rain all the penalties of the law upon us. Their threats were, however, mingled with some sort of indirect apology for the defeat of the two of them by a feeble madman. They said that if it had not been for the way of their strength, and had been spent in carrying and raising the heavy boxes to the cart, they would have made short work of him. They gave, as another reason for their defeat, the extraordinary state of drought to which they had been reduced by the dusty nature of their occupation, and the reprehensible distance from the scene of their labours of any place of public entertainment. I quite understood their drift, and after a stiff glass of strong grog, or rather more of the same, and with each a sovereign in hand, they made light of the attack, and swore that they would encounter a worse madman any day, for the pleasure of meeting so bloomin' good a bloke as your correspondent. I took their names and addresses in case they might be needed. They are as follows: Jack Smollett of Dudding's Rents, King George's Road, Great Warworth, and Thomas Snelling, Peter Farley's Row, Guide Court, Bethnal Green. Those names and addresses are very English. They are both in the employment. They are both in the employment of Harris and Sons, Moving and Shipment Company, Orange Masters Yard, Soho. I shall report to you any matter of interest occurring here, and shall wire you at once if there is anything of importance. Believe me, dear sir, yours faithfully, Patrick Hennessy. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Renfield basically objected to. So they were loading up the boxes? What were they doing? Were they unloading or loading the boxes? Probably. I feel was justified when I saw the same cart which had passed before coming down the road, having on it some great wooden boxes. Oh, so they were taking the boxes. Why? Don't quite understand that. I thought they were supposed to deliver the boxes to that place. I must have missed something or forgotten something. Anyway, the boxes were originally full of soil and Dracula himself, which is how Dracula transported himself to England. So apparently vampires need soil from their homeland. Kind of a spoiler. I shouldn't have said that. Not that I've read this book. I just happen to know that vampires need soil from their homeland. Oh no, I spoiled a 124-year-old book. 127-year-old book. Anyway. Not really. It's, yeah. I mean, Dracula lore is so common. Even I knew about it. And this is the original. How are we doing? We're up to an hour 47. 48. Cool. So we'll read Mina's second letter. Letter Mina Harker to Lucy Westenra. Brackets. Unopened by her. Close brackets. Lucy never got to read Mina's letters. 18th of September. My dearest Lucy, such a sad blow has befallen us. Mr. Hawkins has died very suddenly. Uh-oh. Some may not think it so sad for us, but we had both come to so love him that it really seems as though we had lost a father. I never knew either father or mother, so that the dear old man's death is a real blow to me. Jonathan is greatly distressed. It is not only that he feels sorrow, deep sorrow, for the dear, good man who has befriended him all his life, and now at the end has treated him like his own son, and left him a fortune, which to people of our modest bringing up is wealth beyond the dream of avarice. But Jonathan feels it on another account. He says the amount of responsibility which it puts upon him makes him nervous. He begins to doubt himself. I try to cheer him up, and my belief in him helps him to have a belief in himself. But it is here that the grave shock that he experienced tells upon him the most. Oh, it is too hard that a sweet, simple, noble, strong nature such as his, a nature which enabled him, by our dear good friend's aid, to rise from clerk to master in a few years, should be so injured that the very essence of its strength is gone. Forgive me, dear, if I worry you with my troubles in the midst of your own happiness. But, Lucy, dear, I must tell someone, for the strain of keeping up a brave and cheerful appearance to Jonathan tries me, and I have no one here that I can confide in. I dread coming up to London, as we must do that day after tomorrow, for poor Mr. Hawkins left in his will that he was to be buried in the grave with his father. As there are no relations at all, Jonathan will have to be chief mourner. I shall try to run over to see you, dearest, if only for a few minutes. Forgive me for troubling you. With all blessings, your loving, Mina Harker. I'll read Dr. Seward's diary, and then I'll probably call it there, chat. Dr. Seward's diary, 20th of September. Only resolution and habit can let me make an entry tonight. I am too miserable, too low-spirited, too sick of the world and all in it, including life itself, that I would not care if I heard this moment of the flappings of the wings of the angel of death. And he has been flapping those grim wings to some purpose of late. Lucy's mother, and Arthur's father, and now... ... Let me get on with my work. I duly relieved Van Helsing in his watch over Lucy. We wanted Arthur to go get rest also, but he refused, at first. It was only when I told him that we should want him to help us during the day, and that we must not all break down for want of rest, lest Lucy should suffer, that he agreed to go. Van Helsing was very kind to him. Come, come, my child, he said, come with me. You are sick and weak, and have had much sorrow and much mental pain, as well as the tax on your strength that we know of. You must not be alone, for to be alone is to be full of fears and alarms. Come to the drawing-room, where there is a big fire, and there are 2 sofas. You shall lie on one, and I on the other, and our sympathy will be comfort to each other, even though we do not speak, and even if we sleep. Arthur went off with him, casting back a longing look on Lucy's face, which lay in her pillow, almost whiter than the lawn. She lay quite still, and I looked around the room to see that all was as it should be. I could see that the professor had carried out in this room, as in the other, his purpose of using the garlic. The whole of the window sashes reeked with it, and round Lucy's neck, over the silk handkerchief which Van Helsing made her keep on, was a rough chaplet of the same odorous flowers. Lucy was breathing somewhat stertorously, and her face was at its worst, for the open mouth showed the pale gums. Her teeth, in the dim, uncertain light, seemed longer and sharper than they had been in the morning. This isn't good. It's not good, chat. In particular, by some trick of the light, the canine teeth looked longer and sharper than the rest. I sat down beside her, and presently she moved uneasily. At the same moment there came a sort of dull flapping or buffeting at the window. I went over to it softly, and peeped out by the corner of the blind. There was a full moonlight, and I could see that the noise was made by a great bat, which wheeled around, doubtless attracted by the light, although so dim, and every now and again struck the window with its wings. When I came back to my seat, I found that Lucy had moved slightly, and had torn away the garlic flowers from her throat. I replaced them as well as I could, and sat watching her. Presently she woke, and I gave her food, as Van Helsing had prescribed. She took but a little, and that languidly. There did not seem to be with her now the unconscious struggle for life and strength that had hitherto so marked her illness. It struck me as curious that the moment she became conscious, she pressed the garlic flowers close to her. It was certainly odd that whenever she got into that lethargic state, with the stertorous breathing, she put the flowers from her, but that when she waked, she clutched them close. There was no possibility of making any mistake about this, for in the long hours that followed, she had many spells of sleeping and waking, and repeated both actions many times. Clutches her pearls. At 6 o'clock, Van Helsing came to relieve me. Arthur had then fallen into a doze, and he mercifully let him sleep on. When he saw Lucy's face, I could hear the hissing indraw of breath, and he said to me in a sharp whisper, "Draw up the blind. I want light." Then he bent down, and with his face, almost touching Lucy's, examined her carefully. He removed the flowers and lifted the silk handkerchief from her throat. As he did so, he started back, and I could hear his ejaculation, "Mein Gott!" as it was smothered in his throat. I bent over and looked, too, and as I noticed, some queer chill came over me. The wounds on the throat had absolutely disappeared. For fully 5 minutes, Van Helsing stood, looking at her, with his face at its sternest. Then he turned to me and said calmly, "She is dying. It will not be long now. It will be much difference, mark me, whether she dies conscious or in her sleep. Wake that poor boy, and let him come and see the last. He trusts us and we have promised him. I went into the dining room and waked him. He was dazed for a moment, but when he saw the sunlight streaming in through the edges of the shutters, he thought he was late and expressed his fear. I assured him that Lucy was still asleep, but told him as gently as I could that both Van Helsing and I feared that the end was near. He covered his face with his hands and slid down on his knees by the sofa, where he remained, perhaps a minute, with his head buried, praying, whilst his shoulders shook with grief. I took him by the hand and raised him up. "Come," I said, "my dear old fellow, summon all your fortitude. It will be best and easiest for her." When we came into Lucy's room, I could see that Van Helsing had, with his usual forethought, been putting matters straight and making everything look as pleasing as possible. He had even brushed Lucy's hair so that it lay on the pillow with its usual sunny ripples. When we came into the room, she opened her eyes and, seeing him, whispered softly, "Arthur, oh my love, I'm so glad you have come." He was stooping to kiss her when Van Helsing motioned him back. "No," he whispered, "not yet. Hold her hand. It will comfort her more." So Arthur took her hand and knelt beside her, and she looked her best, with all the soft lines matching the angelic beauty of her eyes. Then, gradually, her eyes closed, and she sank to sleep. For a little bit her breast heaved softly, and her breath came and went like a tired child's. And then insensibly there came the strange change which I had noticed in the night. Her breathing grew stertorous. The mouth opened, and the pale gums, drawn back, made the teeth look longer and sharper than ever. In a sort of sleep-waking, vague, unconscious way, she opened her eyes, which were now dull and hard at once, and said in a soft, voluptuous voice, such as I've never heard from her lips, "Arthur, oh my love, I'm so glad you have come. Kiss me." Arthur bent eagerly over to kiss her, but at that instant Van Helsing, who, like me, had been startled by her voice, swooped upon him, catching him by the neck with both hands, and dragged him back with a fury of strength which I have never thought he could have possessed, and actually hurled him almost across the room. "Not on your life," he said, "not for your living soul, and hers." And he stood between them like a lion at bay. Arthur was so taken aback that he did not, for a moment, know what to do or say, and before any impulse of violence could seize him, he realized the place and the occasion, and stood silent, waiting. I kept my eyes fixed on Lucy, as did Van Helsing, and we saw a spasm as of rage flit like a shadow over her face. The sharp teeth clamped together. Then her eyes closed, and she breathed heavily. Very shortly after she opened her eyes in all their softness, and putting out her poor, pale, thin hand, took Van Helsing's great brown one. Drawing it close to her, she kissed it. "My true friend," she said in a faint voice, but with untellable pathos. "My true friend and his, Oh, guard him, and give me peace. I swear it, he said solemnly, kneeling beside her and holding up his hand as one who registers an oath. Then he turned to Arthur and said to him, Come, my child, take her hand in yours and kiss her on the forehead, and only once. Their eyes met instead of their lips, and so they parted. Lucy's eyes closed, and Van Helsing, who had been watching closely, took Arthur's arm and drew him away. And then Lucy's breathing became stertorous again, and all at once it ceased. It is over, said Van Helsing. She is dead. I took Arthur by the arm and led him away to the drawing room, where he sat down and covered his face with his hands, sobbing in a way that nearly broke me down to see. I went back to the room and found Van Helsing looking at poor Lucy, and his face was sterner than ever. Some change had come over her body. Death had given back part of her beauty, for her brow and cheeks had recovered some of their flowing lines. Even the lips had lost their deadly pallor. It was as if the blood, no longer needed for the working of the heart, had gone to make the harshness of death as little rude as might be. Thank you for following, friendo. We thought her dying whilst she slept, and sleeping when she died. Oh, that was Van Helsing. We thought her dying while she slept, and sleeping when she died. I stood beside Van Helsing and said, Ah, well, poor girl, there is peace for her at last. It is the end. He turned to me and said, with grave solemnity, Not so, alas, not so. It is only the beginning. When I asked him what he meant, he only shook his head and answered, We can do nothing as yet. Wait and see. Dun dun dun. End of chapter 12. I hope you're all enjoying the story so far, chat. Ari's not on. I wonder if Ari's internet is going. Let's have a look. Still no internet. No. That's awful. Who have we got on? It's that time of year, chat, when all of the clocks seem to change around the world, and daylight savings has messed around all of the all of the streaming schedules. But my stream never seems to change because I'm in a place with no daylight savings. Sani Harla's on. What's Sani up to? I'm just having a look to see who's on. No, I don't want to collaborate. Twitch? I don't care about collaboration. We do not care about the collaboration. Mein Gott. No collaboration. I always thought Mein Gott was German, not Dutch. Do you typically read one chapter per stream, or sometimes more? I usually read for 2 hours. So, basically, if I hit 2 hours and I've got a lot left of the chapter, I'll just end halfway through. But if there's only a little bit left, I'll just finish the chapter off, and then it's just I don't speak much in day-to-day life, so streaming is my way of working my vocal muscles. Hell, in 2020 I practically didn't speak. So I'm just having a look to see who's on. We've got lots of ASMR reruns, and obviously no one's reading. I'll have a little, actually I'll do a little search. Have a little quick search. If anyone's got a reading tag on. Me. I'm the one who's got the reading tag on. Oh hum. Looks like we might end up raiding into a music stream maybe. See who's on ASMR. ASMR? ASMR, there we go. Recommended. It is very difficult to find like a comfy cozy stream that is not just ear licking. Oh, there's a kitten stream. We could raid into kittens. Oh my god. I don't know if this is like a real stream or what. Consider adding a reading stream to your schedule. Could be interesting. See, I didn't start out doing like ASMR soft reading. I started off just because I wanted to read. And people were just like, your voice is so relaxing. So then I was just like, well, I'm going to have to change categories to ASMR because reasons. You love to read and have a fairly decent voice for it. But you know, finding use courage to give it a shot. Oh, definitely give it a shot. Definitely. There are very few reading streamers that I've found on Twitch, and none obviously at this time because this is like the dead hours. Because all the Americans are asleep. I might raid into Mountain Settler because kittens. Thank you, Askar. I don't know if it's a real stream or pre-recorded or what, because I've seen some streams which are like taking other people's content and re-streaming it as live, but hopefully that's not this. Okay, we're raiding Mountain Settler, who is just sleeping kittens in front of a fireplace. This works. Raid created. Yes, okay, we're gonna raid. Friends, thank you for joining me. I might stream tomorrow because I didn't stream yesterday. Nice, Kika. You have a great rest of your day. Yes, so have a look to see if I'm on tomorrow, I guess. I will put it in the Discord. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't. Anyway. Thank you for joining me very much. I very much appreciate you all being here. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your night and enjoy the kittens. And I'll continue with Dracula, hopefully, tomorrow, same time. Thank you, Askar. Lovely. Bye, everyone. Bye.